And we call the meeting to order. Please the pledge of allegiance and have a moment of silence, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Terry, do you want to do roll call, please?
Sure. Frost?
Here.
Helmut?
Yes.
Bailey?
Here.
Dolan?
Present.
And Sardi?
Here. Approval of the agenda. I'd like to make one change. I want to move the report from Plant and Moran down to number 11.
Support.
I'd like to move the monthly budget report and expenditure report down also.
I would support. I would like to move the code enforcement report down.
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda as presented. The agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Helen, supported by Dolan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have now presentations. Public hearing, call to the public on non-agenda items. Okay. Then we'll go into consent agenda. A. 1.
Make a motion to receive and file consent agenda items A1.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Hollis, supported by Frost. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And aye.
Make a motion to receive and file consent agenda items A2.
Support.
Motion by Hollis, supported by Frost. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And we go to D.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda item B, including the bills in the amount of $80,467.88.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Hollis, supported by Frost. Terry, you want to do roll call, please?
Sure. Sardi?
Yes.
Dolan?
Yes.
Helmut?
Yes.
Frost?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Okay, unfinished business. A is the request from the planning commission for extension of the moratorium.
So in your packet, a remote, you want to take the lead on it and see what's in there, and your planning commission, if you'd like to.
I think we had a really good meeting. Chuck's opinion, I asked him. We got a lot of topics, touched on everything. It's a lot. And we want to do it right, and we think we can do it in 90 days. Maybe even sooner than that. I think Drew gave us a pretty good memo on how the dates are going to fall, where you have to have both public hearings, the X number of days. So I think if you give us the 90 days, we're going to come up with something you're going to like.
Moratoriums are acceptable under law as long as you have an underlying action. If you remember, this council voted a couple of times to have moratoriums on the marijuana ordinance provisions while the state worked on it. As long as it's applied equally across, we should consider the moratorium, but continue to get updates each meeting from our planning commission representative to ensure that we're making progress.
Those kind of things, you know.
We are meeting again Tuesday. This Tuesday, yeah, this Tuesday, so.
I move to extend the moratorium on enforcement of the open air business ordinance until January 1st, 2019.
Support.
Okay.
We want to make sure that as you go forward, know that moratorium applies equally. So you have people who are in current violation are under a moratorium from enforcement. Anyone who comes into new violation should be issued a letter that they're in violation subject to a moratorium, and they'll have to follow the new ordinance when it's enacted.
Was my wording to that okay?
Yes,
Okay.
just to make sure we're.
That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
somehow come up with.
Just make sure we understand.
Okay.
We want to kind of clear up what last time, we were trying to pigeonhole to only those, and we kind of all wondered if that was going to apply. It's just.
Well, yeah, I wanted the whole blanket thing, but I,
Yes.
you know, Chuck, there's a moratorium, that doesn't mean you get to bring in more either. Somebody who doesn't have any, they don't get to bring in more. It's no one can bring in more.
Right, so, and everybody will be subject to the fine.
So, just to clarify that, when you say, but what if a new person could show up and do the same thing? They will be sent a letter showing their violation, but just not be in.
We won't enforce the violation
Right.
until the new ordinance is in effect.
Don't expect that, but.
Right?
Right.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Sorry, there was a motion and a
support, motion by Frost, supported by Helmut. Let's do a roll call, please.
McBailey?
Yes.
Frost?
Yes.
Helmut?
Yes.
Sardi?
No.
Dolan?
Yes.
Okay. Attend new business. Village engineer, Joe.
A is the purchasing.
Purchasing
Oh,
ordinance.
I'm sorry.
So, council, you wanted to get started on the revision to the current purchasing contracting ordinance policy and scheme. Let me tell you, we have something to begin that discussion. I would like to have something, feedback, and then something for approval at the first meeting in November. Here's where we're running into some glitches. You had you had an antiquated policy, obviously. I balanced the issues by trying to raise arbitrarily the figures in here. We made a cutoff line of $5,000. Purchases less than $5,000 are handled in one way. Purchases over $5,000 are handled in another way. I addressed what I think Eric was looking for on page 2, little number, or number 6. Some of the things that are very standard and what should we look at when you're analyzing bids. And I balance that against Sue's concern that we just don't automatically run to the lowest bid, that we look for the competency of the bid as well as to the price of the bid. The one thing that we're grappling, oh, by the way, we added in that there would be no bidding required if we follow the MISH deal, or if we followed the other programs wherein the bids process has already been done for you, we wouldn't have to have a bid process. We would have language that even other state recognized contract programs or federal contract programs could be honored as a bid process. The problem we're running into is this, and many communities are facing this, is that where to put that line in the sand for the number. And the reason is you could spend, say you have something that you want to go out to bid that's, the bids are going to be about $4,000 or $7,500. In order to get equal bids across the board, you got to spend a little time and money on your specs, because you can't send out lousy specs and expect to get competent, good bidding. Somebody might read something as 2 feet, somebody says up to 2 feet, somebody says 2 feet or more, and you just get all kinds of disparity. So one of the things I'd like you to think about as you look through this version and get comments back to me is this, is maybe we have to move away from the number and onto the bid type. For example, anything you do as a public project in this village needs to be subject to the bid process. Anything you do involving a vehicle would be handled probably by MDO through an already bid process. It may not be that the money is the right way to divide things, it might be the service that we're looking at. For example, you got a tree project here where our DPW director, who's been in that position since he was 9, had a great history on one tree company who's always been the lowest. It's a continuing service, so maybe we would want language where we don't have to bid if we're returning to a previous provider of continuous and regular services. So I would encourage you to think about some of those categories. I also have a process in here now where you can waive the competitive bid process if certain conditions are met, i.e. it's a professional service, or it's a sole provider, or Don needs a part that only one pump manufacturer makes. Why would you spend time speccing and bidding that? So I would encourage you to think about the logic of the process as opposed to the sharp lines that are drawn in terms of just, if it's over 5,000, there must be a bid process. If it's, you know, we may have to massage this. Many communities are moving towards a more functional purchasing process where you look at, well, what is it we're seeking, and then you determine what process we're going to do that. So there's a draft. It's got a lot of the things that you already kind of mentioned in our brief discussion. I'd like to hear your comments, and then we'll have something on the table to potentially act on in the first meeting in November.
Do you want comments now?
Take anything you got.
I'm just wondering if there's a way to write it in that the village is approving, say, 3 different kinds of bidding. And one's gonna be, you know, okay, we gotta dig a well, we need people to bid on the well. And one's gonna be, okay, this is the guy who always gives the best price for trees, so we're gonna do bid process 2, where the DPW director says we're gonna go this way, and council just approves it.
I would like that. And where we're at now is, we've always had sharp lines, like I said, it's just about the money. So under 5, Joe can make phone calls, get 3 email responses, pick one, and we do it.
And Joe comes to us and says, listen, I'm gonna use bid process 2.
Right.
Go for it.
I would like that, and I would like it to be where we discuss it in terms of what are we going after versus how much it costs.
I think we need both options in there though,
Okay.
is my opinion. One of 4,
I agree
one of
100%.
5.
I agree 100%. Here, or,
I would concur. I think we need multiple different methods based upon whatever it is. Feedback that I've received and what has caused me to bring it to your attention is the concern that it's very difficult for separate contractors to break in. My concern is also that over time, it might not necessarily be the best price just because it was 6 months ago. If people have the opinion that all I have to do is secure this status once, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the best price. And I think we all, as individuals, have seen that in our respective lives. So I am opposed to the continuation of using a provider because we have used them in the past.
okay,
I would be more in favor of doing a bidding process, but establishing what the next year's goals are and not repeatedly going back and preventively cutting down trees and coming to council 3 or 4 times a year. This is the list, we want to do this year. If an emergency arises, and then we address the emergency, but we don't continue adding it, requiring another process, therefore making it more tedious for administration.
okay.
So I would like to see something that allows a competitive nature.
Of varying degrees.
Of varying degrees. I'm
It
opposed.
may not require specs, sealed bids, bonds, and all that,
Correct.
but it might require,
Well, I don't necessarily know that I would take that out. I do think
no, there's a
process
place
is
for that
important.
for certain things. We have to kind of sort through that.
So I do think we need to provide a continued opportunity for new blood to come in. The other concern that I have is I am opposed to the local benefit. I would like to have the local incentive removed. I believe that that only applies in service-related type repair projects. While it is great for a few limited individual businesses, it really is not a great benefit for local business in general. It doesn't provide any benefit to retail, it doesn't provide any benefit to
No.
anything other than service-oriented repair type. So it's almost, it's a bit of a misnomer that we are looking out for businesses by providing that. And there again, at the end of the day, I do not think that provides the most competitive process for the taxpayer. My concern is the taxpayer. So I personally, and I'm sure there will be disagreement on that, and I respect it, I would like to see that caveat removed entirely. The other thing I would like to see is bids placed online on our new website. In this day and age, no one's going to the local paper to find out where they can get work. They're going online, they're searching out jobs quick. So I'd like maybe a sentence added, or an area added on our website to afford that.
Seen it before where it says doing business with the village.
Sure.
Or doing business with the city.
Okay, perfect. I will start to incorporate some of those thoughts. Be welcome any feedback on local preference by anyone else. You just call me. Maybe we come back with something and get a redraft. Perfect. No action required on this tonight.
I prefer to see the local stay, because some of those local businesses are taxpayers as well.
Got it.
So do we need a motion to set it aside?
No, there was no action on this. This was just introduction and discussion.
Ah. Now we'll go on to the engineer. Joe?
Yes, like I mentioned, I think 2 meetings back, how I did receive some engineering bids for the parking lot project, and if you lay them side by side, they weren't exactly the same. They're engineers, they both had a little bit different approaches, how they might do this, how they might do that. And for me to kind of spec it out to the engineers to come back on apples to apples is kind of reverse in a way. And so it made it a little troublesome how would I present it to you guys in a fair way, because this other issue had already cropped up about the project too. And when we started reviewing, and I myself personally reviewing the purchasing ordinance that was already placed, it was similar to this as far as professional services are one of the items where you don't need to go out and do competitive bidding. You can do like professional services with your legal team, your engineering, your design, or your planner, such as a mechanic or somebody like that. It's not something like the tree service that you get them here and there and you move from project to project. Your engineering and your designer, planner reviewers like that, they work with you for years. They get familiar with your community. They know the infrastructure. They also represent us in our desires at other locations in the village when it comes into projects such as the Beehive Homes over there. We hook them up, they get with our engineers, they decide whether their catch basins at the proper level and the sizes and all that stuff on our behalf. But we're out of it. We don't contract with them, we're not in the middleman. So for me, I think it's come to a point where we want to choose our engineer and go with them. That options around the parking lot, it's a large project. I don't think we can do it all one fell swoop financially. There might be some options that are cheaper. So it may be done over, we get an overall plan we all kind of agree with, and then we decide to do phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 over 3-year periods. Perhaps, we don't know. But to try to go through that and bid each one of those out head-to-head and apples-to-apples with engineering companies is, I think, kind of really a lot to ask for them to do and jump into the project, jump out of the project, something like that. So I found that if you have one, you like them, you live with them, and you develop a relationship that you can count on. And I think it would be a wise decision. I don't know how long ago Roe became not affiliated with the village. I think it might have been when Joe Young came years ago, and he had some affiliation and warm, fuzzy feelings, perhaps, let's say, with Nowak Cross. I can't say anything bad about them. I just know I've worked with Roe over the years, not Lapeer office, not Doug Skyless. I don't think I've ever met him, perhaps until when I started here. I may have seen him at a conference somewhere for a minute. But the company itself, I have a lot of respect for and a relationship with as well. They're well respected. And then when I talked to them, just sitting down with him and another person from his outfit there with Don, talking about Burdick Street, going down Burdick Street, and talking about how we're doing that repaving project next year. Don says, well, you know, you were here in 98 when we repaved this, and we did this, and he's piped right in, yep, we had moved the lines over here, we pushed them out of the right of way best we could. He still retains that knowledge of the village, so I wouldn't suggest going to somebody out of the blue, but being that he has that experience and knowledge here, I think it's very viable. I recommend them just because of my familiarity with them and their familiarity with the village. But if no epic process is who you choose as well, either one will work. I just thought it was kind of a good idea to grab take a horse and go with it. You're welcome to feedback or direction.
We worked with Roe for a lot of years. I do know Doug Skyless. And I know there's probably been a million people that have come and gone over these years with the economy. But they did work really well with the DPW, with the water mains on Glassby and Powell and Dennis, and we did a lot of water main work. And they worked really hard. They had really good inspectors. They were here whenever we needed them. And if no one has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve Roe Engineering as village contract engineer.
Support.
I want to say that I concur with Paul. I've known Roe, worked with them before. They're always here on a project. I've never known them not to be here. The inspectors are here all the time. And I just think it's good. Yeah.
I have on other accounts, and they're fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
For discussion.
Sorry.
Bob, I would just ask how, in your opinion, this lines up with the previous discussion. If there are any concerns of selections, how other communities articulate.
It's a professional service that under even your scheme, you've never had to necessarily bid it out. Because this is one where you're truly running towards a relationship and not towards an hourly rate.
Thank you.
Some people would bid out the engineering work. Some people would view it as selecting their professional services.
Thanks.
I think we've always left it up to the manager in the past.
Okay, we have a motion by Helmut, supported by Frost. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
And now the Oakland County Hazardous Mitigation Plan.
Well, I'd love to have Chief Schultz here, so he's the one who sent this to me and then kind of showed me, so he has some background on this.
It's a great program.
Evening, Council. I apologize to begin with for the lateness of getting it to you. Originally going around through the emergency management programs because the Village of Oxford is under 30,000 whatever. Actually, they don't have to have a regular emergency management thing. It falls under the county anyhow to take care of the township. I presented to the township at their board meeting here a couple weeks ago and they approved it. The hazard mitigation program is through FEMA and everything. And what it's for is you do a whole survey of the community. And it's done like every 5-6 years, it gets updated. And basically they're saying, what are your hazards? What do you possibly dream of that you think could come to your town and it should be an ice storm, be it a tornado, be it a flood, being a hazardous material truck driving through town here and crashes and leaks liquid all over the place. Those kinds of things are what we had to survey to do the whole program on. And what that does then, it goes back to FEMA, so in case that FEMA just had, maybe we got a couple $100,000 left over this year, we're gonna give it to Oxford. And part of that mitigation program was we said that in case of an ice storm, we have no place for the public to go. We do a generator here at the building or something for people to go through. That's just a wild example of something that they do, or some communities make it something for a flood. None of the money ever comes forward, none of it ever happens, but it's always a plan that they have to have on file with FEMA. And then it has to be adopted by all the communities, and then Oakland County turns around and presents it to FEMA. So that's what this is for.
County provided a model resolution.
Oh, it's a template there that they do the whole thing on, so. Short and sweet.
Although there is 800 pages you can read about.
But this is
That won't fit in the binder.
Right. I'm sure you got through all of them, Chief.
Oh, there's quite a few meetings, so. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. council's pleasure.
Madam President, I move to adopt resolution 2018-18, the Oakland County Hazardous Mitigation Plan.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Frost, supported by Helen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, number 11, we'll go with code enforcement.
Joe, just a quick question in
Yes.
regards to the tagged recreational vehicles or the notices sent out.
Yes.
Has action begun on that? Do we have any idea what the status is?
The 15th was the deadline Dan had given. He's already received several calls. We've received a couple calls, people wanting to know what the ordinance is, so they know how to
Sure.
comply with it. Some of them called wanting to know what ordinance is so they can point to another neighbor. We've had it both ways. Dan had given a pretty broad thing to the 15th. After the 15th, he will start doing the enforcement on it.
And we're on track with it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mo, the budget.
I noticed in the revenue report that it's the end of September and our revenues were only at, was it not there yet?
31%.
And, you know, by the end of August, you should have like 90-some% of our taxes, and it only shows 31. So I was just wondering if we're just behind. I don't know where the money, I couldn't find where the money was. So I know you got an answer, thank you, Derek.
I do have the answer for you. We do have $834,773.27 in our tax account. Nothing has been transferred yet. I'm reluctant to do some of this accounting until we decide how we're gonna move forward with the plan, and the changes that we propose. I went back over 3 years, actually it'll be 4 years if you count this year, to see how these taxes were recorded, what journal entries were made. So these were journalized. However, there is another accompanying journal entry that has to be made. But over a 4-year period, there's not 1 year where it's consistent, where it shows up the same as an example to follow. So the initial recording of the revenue is done the same every year. It's what happens after that. Now, there's 2 things that could be going on here. One, it's not being properly cash receipted, because there's another step that may be being overlooked. We have not given Vicki any training in cash receipting or utility billing, or I don't know what training even Kim has had. We all use the system, we've taught ourselves how to use the system, but that doesn't mean we're using it the way it's supposed to be used. So this is an example of that, and so the issue is then, what is the proper transaction, what's the proper journal entry, and I'm not going to make a journal entry to reverse it, you know, and then re-enter it and then reverse it again so I can see what's happening with the cash. I mean, that's one practice. If you go in our table of contents, if you will, in the general ledger and look to see what people have done before. That's what they do. They book it. They look to see how it was done. They book it. Oh, that's not where it's supposed to be. They reverse it. They book it again. Whoops. Another correction to that correction. So I'm trying to avoid that. We're trying to get everything straightened out. But I want to put your mind at ease that the money is in the bank.
Can you whip that dollar off? It was 800 and what?
$834,773.27 is our current balance.
I didn't keep exact.
Right around 80%.
But that puts us to what? Yeah, that puts us to the,
$1,076,000, I think was what we budgeted for.
yeah.
And we probably will be getting another check sometime this week or next week. That's the cycle, you know, in a look-back period. And then, of course, there will be another one following that in November and another one again in December because you have delinquent payments and other settlements that are happening, so. Does that answer your question, Ron?
Yeah, because that actually puts us over 100%.
No, that includes that 321 that's in there.
Oh, the 334.
Or 334, yeah, it's 31%, yeah. So we're
Well,
actually,
the 334 wouldn't be the tax account if it's in general.
Yeah, 334 is in the tax account, so.
oh, I was thinking that we said earlier, but so I'm going to defer to that.
It's okay, I'm just gonna let it go until you do that.
Yeah,
I just wondered if those didn't have.
I will give you the exact amounts and,
I don't
you
need
know.
that. Go over the, I like to do that.
Okay.
One other thing while we're on the budget report, one of the things that come up, the police revenue that they generated before used to go into the 207 account or fund, which was the police fund. You know, we ended that fund this year and moved them into the general fund. Well, county courts are still, when they send us their money, they're still using that old account. We got confirmation from them today that they got everything set. So moving forward, starting next month, those funds should show up in our regular fund. Right now, if you look in there, it shows zero. Because everything is still going into the old 207 account from the court. So year to date, so July, August, and September, there's 16,500 that came in from the courts. Total, I'll take out the VDA, so 1670, about $18,000 has been brought in revenue, parking tickets in the courts, violations and stuff, so the first quarter. So if you look at the revenue expenditure report, it shows zero revenue for the police violations and stuff. But again, we got confirmation from the courts today that they finally got squared away. They'll be, because they automatically deposit right to our account, and they're still depositing in the old account. And so we got confirmation today that now they got the correct information, the updated information, they will put it to the right fund. So that should show up in, but I don't want to shortchange it. It looks like it got zero in the first quarter, but it's actually about $18,000.
Drew and I, remember Drew, don't you? Drew and I have up-to-date figures on the costs of prosecution versus the return from the court system. If anybody would like that data at any time, we have it broken down by a 3-year analysis of that. So we can give that to anyone who wants it. Done by month and by, we've been doing very well.
And I was a little scared off on that $80,000 number that was in last year's budget. We didn't quite hit it, so I chopped it in half to 40,000 expected revenue. And so for 1 quarter in, we're at about 18. So
We're
doesn't mean you can coast the rest of the year, but you're doing good.
And then, Plant and Brand report. Jerry, do you want to?
Sure. I've given you a little bit of information as we've gone along. Kelly has been here. We've pretty much used most of the time. There were a lot of things to straighten out. Brian Kamiller, who is the partner at the plant who I reached out to, could not be here tonight. He's going to come personally and present to you to get a conflict in his schedule. He has put the 23rd meeting date on his calendar so that he can come back and speak to you. We'd like to speak personally with him and get a more one-on-one. But in this letter, it gives the recommendations for improved efficiencies, and that's really what we're going after. Number 1 is to implement the pooled cash system, because we currently operate with multiple separate bank accounts. One account pays bills for another account and thereby creates inter-fund receivables and payables. To repay the short-term borrowing of bank transfers then performed by me from one bank account to the other, which then requires more accounting work. So in a pooled cash system, the proper configuration in BSA is done so that all of the bank accounts are linked within the accounting system, and the cash is automatically accounted for, and it's adjusted and rebalanced with the software. So if it's properly set up, this could save us hours, if not days, of reconciliation and banking activities, journal entries. This would also establish better, more efficient accounting processes. Most of our current processes for recording accounting activity are very manual. They don't use the functionality that's built in the BSNA system. So once we, for example, do an accounts payable run, the system should automatically journalize everything. I should not have to go back in and then create another journal entry for all of these accounts to expense them to the proper area. And then go to the bank and transfer all of the money back and forth from all of these accounts. It's very time consuming. And it's ripe for error. I mean, anytime you're doing manually entering numbers, transferring things over, you transpose numbers, you might be in a hurry, you might get a phone call, or you have to go take a payment or whatever, and you're interrupted, you come back, it just doesn't make for a smooth process or a very efficient one. So errors occur. And then establish better and more efficient accounting processes. Most of our processes for accounting, again, are manual. Oops, I'm repeating myself there. But the processes that need to be revised in order for us to implement these steps and to flip the switch on, you know, these improvements, are processes in accounts payable that have to be revised, payroll, utility billing, reporting activity with MERS, you know, all the retirement programs that we have. And then there should be an accounting checklist. What do you do on a daily basis? What should you be doing on a weekly basis? What should you be looking at monthly, quarterly, annually? There are reports that Joe and I almost missed the deadline on, and with the help of Kelly, we got everything filed in time because we didn't know that we had to file reports with MDOT, and there were two. One was they were both with MDOT, but anyway, one required an extension. The other one, we actually, it was a Saturday or Friday. I emailed Joe the form. He signed it, sent it back. I signed it. We both had to sign it. It's done. We got it accomplished. So, yeah. And to what consequence, I don't know. But that's not something that I think we want to find out. I think that we're required to do something by law, or you know, just in daily best practices, we should be doing that. We don't know what those are. I haven't had any training. We don't have the processes in place. And from what I can tell, they haven't been in place for going back 3 and 4 years, because I can't see anything that's repetitive enough to say that's the process. And I'm going to do it just like that person did it. So unfortunately, we need to move forward and secure more time with Kelly from Plain Moran, number one. I don't know if you have any questions before I go any further. There's a couple of other things I wanted to bring to your attention too, and this is the environment that we're in today in government is no longer like it used to be, where people realize, hey, you're not accountants, you're not CPAs. The auditors come in, they clean everything up, they say, bye, we'll see you next year. They can't do that anymore. It's unethical. They can't audit their own work. But there's also a higher level of reporting that is required of us. For grants, for example, this is from CDBG. I just got this and filled it out a couple weeks ago. These are the questions. Have financial staff received financial management training, and are they familiar with uniform administrative requirements, cost principles, and audit requirements for federal awards to CFR Part 200? Please explain. Does the community organization have written procurement and accounting policies, processes, and procedures? How are accounting records, or are they complete, accurate, and transactions recorded in the proper accounting period? Well, I say no. When you look back in the system, we've got things that are crossed over periods because we don't know what we're supposed to be doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. Other than the big stuff like, okay, accounts payable, we do that every 2 weeks. You have to take utility billing daily. There's certain things that we do know. There's other things that we don't know and we're not doing. The accounting records, do they separate the receipts and payments of the grant from the receipts and payments of other grants? Are grant expenditures recorded in the accounting system according to budget categories by line item and in total to prevent incurring expenses in excess of total funding sources? This was never required. I mean, I've been in office for 18 years. This has never been required to this level as it has, you know, escalated in the last probably half a dozen years or so. And it's to the point where most municipalities have either a financial director or some kind of financing department because it's very highly specified and we are required to do this work. And so you need to give us the tools to be able to get this work done and be efficient and be correct and be accurate.
Especially that relates to the CDBG fund, which is the county, or the federal fund, county, you know, federal fund, they're very red tape, very onerous at times.
My understanding from Kelly is that we need 7 days of her time, and we will have the system under control. Is that about what you guys heard?
Yes, I think that's, you might not even.
Maybe
you
not
might be able
7.
to do it quicker, however, I would like to plant this seed in your, plant the seed at this time. I think it would be prudent and wise to, if we can't make this happen, well, let's say she needs the whole entire 7 days. Really, she should come back in a month after we should do the changeover and look at the system and say, is there anything that's been missed? Is there anything that we need to tweak? That's going to, that we don't want this getting away from us because this could be a problem. And if not, well, in addition to that, perhaps come back in a quarter, semi-annually, something like that. But I think if you give us the 7 days, and we can get it done in 4 or 5 days, it's gonna give us, extra time for her to come back and say, yeah, this is good, or no, we need to work on this a little bit more over here, over there, and fix this and that. And I think then we can be truly confident that we're heading in the right direction. We've got some oversight. It's going to save us money on our audit, which you spent $26,000 last year on the audit, almost $60,000 in the last 3 years on an audit. That's a lot of money.
Should be about 17 or 16 a year.
The agreement we signed with SK&T this past spring was like 15.5 and 16.1. Last year's bill was 26 because they had come in multiple times, do a lot of year-end work and stuff. And again, it's not really where they should be, but the run's got time constraints, the staffing issues that led up to that, I think, all played into that. So part of what's being done with Kelly right now, and as you know, it's up fixed on the front end, so when SK&T and Aaron and those guys show up, they should be able to do it with maybe minimal, go back to do reports or whatever.
Terry, can you touch upon what you told me about Vicki today, the reporting that she's didn't know about?
Oh, yeah, sure. When Vicki was on vacation, I had the pleasure of doing payroll for her for 2 weeks. And there's 941s are filed quarterly, and along with those, there's a wage detail report for SUI unemployment. That's filed quarterly. It's due the 25th day after the quarter, the end of the quarter, and Vicki was on vacation. I got a notice about that. And so when she came back, I said, why are we getting this notice? We have a service called Paychex. Paychex files our 941s. They should be filing our quarterly wage detail reports. Oh, no, they can't do that because we're a reimbursing entity. And I said, no, I don't think so. Well, the long and short of it is, we don't have to file those. They have set us up. The problem was we were never set up for them to file that. So this last quarter will be the last quarter that Vicki will have to file that report. And that's just one less thing that she's gonna have to take care of in her duties. And it's gonna free her up to do other things. But Vicki's other comment was that we're like hamsters on a wheel in that office. We are busy all the time and barely keeping up. So,
Streamlining stuff.
right, like the plant report shows utility billing and cash receiving, those are items that affect Vicki directly. And in the short time that Kelly's been here, she has shown me some pretty slick stuff where we can recreate journal entries, we can download and upload Excel numbers, even out of Paychex, like out of our Paychex system. So again, you're going to be reducing errors in transferring information and just making those, it's going to be really nice to be able to have a system that works for you instead of you working for it.
Eric?
I think a majority, or at least a consensus of council when they went with the decision to change administration, had this in mind. Now, I know there appears to be concern that council will not subscribe to the costs that come with this, but I would urge council to not only approve the 7 recommended days, but whatever cost is deemed to be necessary in order to bring this municipality in compliance with requirements, legal obligations, and to streamline the operation. There is no choice. This is a cost that I don't believe we have an option to debate over. We can't take the process of professionalizing the organization halfway and then say, it's now gotten too expensive, this is good enough. We have to do whatever it costs, I believe, in whatever part it's necessary to see it through. These are, in my opinion, mandatory discussions and really decisions that only have one realistic response to them. I think continuing processes as they have been done for decades because we're a small enough organization and people are comfortable is a prudent method for accounting. If for no other reason, when administration inevitably at some point changes, you need to have a process in place. And such an individual doing it this way for 2 decades worked well is not adequate in my mind. So I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate what you've brought to light. I think the village has an obligation to subscribe to legal practices at whatever the cost is.
Thank you.
Have I heard a number?
No,
Are we gonna throw out a number, or are we just gonna do this whole esoteric thing?
You're, that's for another week,
We did 7,500 on the front end.
so you need another 75.
Yeah, I think we did another 7,500. That would put us in a good spot and get us over that hump. And maybe even have a little bit left over to where she could come back after these structural changes are put in place and allow to put to bed, and bounce back for another day or 2, and say, all right, now that you got it in place, let's tweak it, make sure it's still going good. And so,
there is an end to the, bleeding.
Well, that's,
But you've got to pull the Band-Aid off the
waiting
scab first.
we pulled the Band-Aid out of the scab so many times. It just keeps gushing. I mean, trust me, I know the work needs to be done. It just pisses me off that it's $7,500. And at some point, I'd like to know when we're going to cauterize that dough. Let's take care of it.
well, going back over the tank rate, we've gone back and looked at the auditor's remarks over the last couple of years, and some of these things that we're trying to address have been addressed. And again, there was a lot of state flux going on here, so I understand what kind of maybe wasn't right at times. Brian Kemler from Plant Moran had reached out, or Evan had reached out to him, I understand now too, that they already had a conversation when Evan was here in the summertime of 17 perhaps, or so. Again, maybe that wasn't the right time. Maybe we had to wait for everyone to get in, to settle in.
Yeah, you spent $135,000 in village manager last year. I mean.
Trust me.
you talk-
I know exactly what we spent.
You talk about bleeding, but you have to look at, by not making a decision, you're deciding, and it's costing more money. You have to make that decision to do it, like Eric said, get it done, and put it behind you. We can't keep looking back, we gotta look forward.
But we don't have to be happy about it. We don't have to be quiet about it.
No.
And we're going to whine about it. Because that's what I do.
I am excited about it. I'm excited that we now have the people in place to put these things forward. What frustrates me is that it's taken so long to spend this money.
It needs to be done. We can't continue to go on.
Madam President, just 2 questions for Terry. Will this result in some sort of document that documents this structure so that in the future, these procedures and mechanisms, methods, whatever we want to call them, move forward and can translate between one set of staff to another set of staff and so forth? And then the second part of that question is, does this include some of the necessary training for you and your staff to ensure that these procedures are followed?
Training's on.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the training part of it. That was more.
It is available, but it's gonna cost you some money. So, yes, to all of that, and I do think the staff does need the training because the system's gonna change. The reports are gonna be different, the process is gonna be different. And I don't think there's gonna be resistance, except for it's ingrained in you to do it a certain way. It takes a little bit of time to break that, and to get used to and comfortable with doing it a different way.
Could you provide council with a list of the trainings that would be necessary and how we can assist you with moving forward with that?
Sure.
And just keep in mind, when we're talking about people and getting ingrained and doing things. I've been here 10 months, she's been here 4 months, not even. And Vicky, who's doing payroll and or something, she's been here 11 months. So our habits aren't that old that we're ready to make changes, whatever changes are there. We aren't ingrained and entrenched and stuff like that ourselves, so.
The program will begin to work for you.
Yes.
That's what Kelly explained, that once you have a great system, you have a state-of-the-art system, you're not using it. Once it's used, it'll create repetition. So you'll know next year, it'll tell you what to do. And it'll start doing things for you that you're doing manually now. So that there is a training just by watching the system.
It's like with a new phone. It'll do 1,000 things, but I'm only using 10 of them. Every now and then I'll learn 1 or 2 more. But if, someone sat me down and showed me 30 of them overnight, okay, wow, that's great. You got to take advantage of it. The utility building, there's definitely some improvements to be done there. There's people tell us BSNA can email bills. We've had people asking us that, we're like, we aren't ready yet, we're still trying to catch up. If we can email some bills to people who want that, just some help there.
Do we know what line item we're taking this money out of?
We don't. Before, the first month.
Well, that is the greatest answer you can ever
Well,
I turned
it was
to it and
an
said no.
agenda item, and I brought it out because it needs to be taken care of, and we need to support staff in trying to get this done.
We can bring,
I
Sick
can bring
and
back-
tired of the village being,
we can bring that back, but right now the answer to that is no.
Thank you.
So I'd like to know that we've got $7,500 in the bank that we can cover this cost before I tell them to go ahead and spend it. So that we don't have to lay Joe Medora off on June 1st because we can't cover the last month of
well,
the
we
year.
know that we have money in.
I'd just like to know financially
financially
where we're gonna take the money out of, Sue.
I could do a budget amendment recommendation and as where it is for the next meeting. If that, it's gonna come out of the fund balance into the budget and be spent. Whereas the first amount, 7,500, was basically the savings between the wages advertised and the wages paid in the first time around. So that was kind of built in already. This part's not built in. And I don't know if another 7,500 hanging out there that we could, let's just borrow that or use that without having to do a fund balance transfer. We may have to do a fund balance transfer, but then again, we're hoping not to spend extra. We're not gonna spend 10 grand extra on our audit this year either. So that second shoe won't be coming. So, but we will streamline it.
I think we need to know
Right?
where we're gonna take the money
Yes.
out.
And can I just say that, especially Joe and I are very sensitive to budgets, sticking with the budget and, and not overspending. We are both very conservative in our spending practices. It was a hard decision. We talked about this quite a bit, because it is, we have a fiduciary responsibility, and we do not take that lightly.
Absolutely.
So, I can appreciate what you're saying, but we are not throwing your money away. We feel that this is the right thing to do, and we'll work our tails off to make sure that this gets completed right and timely as, at the earliest possible, in the earliest possible time frame possible. So,
Terry, is there is Plant Moran holding some time for an extension on this? That we need to let them know so that they don't schedule something else that will
Well,
then
yeah,
put our
they're-
continuation on.
Yes, there.
yes, they will need. Yeah, because
So we need to decide
we
tonight.
aren't the only one with this problem.
Yeah, I know.
I just
But we
wanna-
need to decide tonight that we're going to pay for it, but we can, so that we can
If
hold
we
their
can make a
time.
commitment tonight.
All we have to
that
do
would
is
be
tell them we're
wonderful.
gonna do it.
We just have to make a commitment. We
We
don't
don't
have to
need the
commit
money.
to any amount of money, right?
We don't need the money, we need to tell them we're gonna do it.
Eric, did you go?
Madam President, I make a motion to extend our contract with Plant Moran with an amount to be determined. Is that,
Request that we set the amount at 10,000. As you specified, 7,500, provide a bit of a buffer, just so we have a defined monetary amount.
yeah, that's acceptable. But we do want to see where that's going to be amended from.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll bring a formal budget amendment.
And I'll support it. So
I
no mark
can't-
it down, Terry.
Free market.
Somebody put this date on their calendar.
Okay, so we have a motion by Frost, supported by Helmut. Terry, do you want to do a roll call?
Absolutely. Elman,
Yes.
Frost,
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Dolan?
Yes, ma'am.
Lasardi?
Yes. Okay. Public comments? Okay, who wants to go first and then come up to the mic and identify yourself? All right.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good. I just have a couple things before I go off on my little tangent here.
Identify yourself.
All right. Thank you. I would like to thank Sergeant Solwell and the Osprey Police Department and Oakland County Sheriff. My daughter called me about a month ago and said there was a man riding his bike up and down our street taking pictures of our house. And they were there before I even hung up the phone with her. So kudos to both of you because, you know, I'm in Southfield, so it's not like I can be home in 30 seconds. So,
I think we need to get your name for the record.
Tanya Heiser, 34 Lafayette Street, Oxford, Michigan.
Thank you.
So on that note, I also wanted to, and I wasn't here for the first public comment, so I apologize. Bring up the fact that the trees have still not been planted or replanted or replaced or whatever is going on with that. And the parking lot, the lines are gone, so they need to be redone over at Merch. There are some lawn signs on the building. Why they're on the building, I don't know. And there was a sign that also fell down. It was up, but it fell down, probably because it's too big for the building.
Is that the Evergreen one? I
Yes.
saw it leaning against the barrel yesterday or something.
They what?
Leaning against the barrel, I saw it like yesterday.
No, they had, oh, it's leaning against the side of the porch.
There you go.
Yeah.
That needs to go back up, is that where it was?
It actually shouldn't be there at all because they're only allowed one side facing the road. And they have 3, 4. So, and I believe they were all supposed to get a permit to have that sign even approved to go up. So you'd have to check and see if they had a permit to even put a sign up. And then, so that's my little tangent for that. And then Miss Linda, and I always forget her last name, that lives on the corner of Pleasant and Burdick. In the stone house, the ranch, across from the duplex they just built. What is it?
Walden.
Walden, okay. I did talk to her, and she absolutely, positively does not want people parking in front of her house. And now with the duplex across the street, more people are gonna park in front of the duplex when people actually do live there. And you're gonna have people parking on what is her easement or her grass, but she can't plant grass because everybody that lives across the street on Burdick parks in front of her house. So she would like to find out if there's something that can be done about that. But I did talk to her, and she doesn't have anybody that parks in there. They all park in her driveway, so it wouldn't affect her as far as, but she doesn't like looking out her window and there's a car. And now she's upset because there's a duplex that she can't see all the way up to the light anymore. She likes to keep
Can I
it.
ask you one question? Has the light, the shield on the light been taken care of yet?
It looks like they tried to do one side, right?
Yeah,
Where
I
they
just
tried to
noticed
like
that
put a
too.
piece of tape or something.
Or paint, I wasn't quite sure, I just
Yeah.
noticed it recently.
Yeah, so, but I guess there's a dispute whether it's DTEs or whether it's merges or, you know, and I was telling John, I'm like, actually Mark and Heidi paid $5,000 to have it moved, so technically it should be theirs, because when they did they agreed, you know.
DTE was going to help with the light, and then he called me back and said, well, it's not our light, so I
Yeah,
can't help.
It's merges light, so,
So, but then we're told, our kind of guys, you're not the whip on DTE pole, so
right,
kind of everyone's pointing in a circle like this.
yeah.
But I did notice just recently, it looked like there was a kind of two shields on one side itself.
Yeah, it does look like they tried to put, I don't know, a piece of metal or a piece of tape or something, I don't know.
I never heard of anybody went up there, seen it, just,
Right. So, I don't know if they can do anything about that, but, so other than that was, I think that's about it, that's all I got. Oh, yeah, and I do believe, am I was gonna ask Chris, the sign ordinance, it is one sign per business facing the road, correct?
I'd have to verify that for sure, but I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, so we don't need 5 signs on a building.
I know Dan's got asking about some of the signs out front.
Yeah, there's
like little-
still, yeah, there's one on the, you can't even see it from the road, but it's on the walkway, and then the one on the side, which a lot of times put them in the lawn. But, and then you said that she has been there now. I know you guys don't normally get here till, I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock or whatever.
About 7:30, 7:45.
7:30, so usually when I leave at 7, there's cars parked underneath that awning. Because if you do call her, she will carry them out to your car, and she will tell you to park underneath that awning to pick it up.
I know Dan's talked to her a couple of times and watched them. And
Yeah.
one lady was parked there, but they were loading stuff in and out of it. And he said that long enough that
Yeah.
one of the proprietors walked over and asked him why he was there. So he said he's observing.
So, all right, that's enough of our tangent. Do we know when they're gonna replace the trees?
No, we got a letter from her stating that she's had people look at it and the ground soils in that area aren't, I don't know, they're polluted or something like that, but it can't grow a tree in that particular spot. And that's we need something more from a letter from her, we need it from the people she had out. So we're trying to find out if that's correct or not, accurate.
Well, they're not gonna grow if you can't water them, which we brought up originally, how are they gonna water these trees? You know, that's why we wanted a wall.
It's kind of like the one village has on Burn, behind the old credit union.
Right.
20 of them up there and 3 of them died in the middle.
Right, yeah. So, but, I mean, it is part of your PUD agreement that you did sign and that got approved, so if they die, you need to replace them.
Yeah.
So, with something that's more than 12 inches tall. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dennis.
I don't know public
Yeah,
comment.
Mike, wait, you had somebody else.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna answer.
Oh, we thought you were
Remember
going to
your
report.
minutes.
You're next.
My name is Dale Wolicki. I own the property at 59 North Washington. I've owned it for over 20 years. Until recently it was my residence. I'm going to repeat a little bit of what I said the other day at the Planning Commission. So Ms. Helmuth and Ms. Passari are going to hear a little bit again. September 15th, 2015, the Planning Commission approved a use change and a site plan approval for Jim Wilson. And the documents were by a Paul Clementi, professional engineer. I came into the village offices on September 18th looking for a copy of the site plan. It was approved. There are approved minutes, and it's on OCTV. The assistant manager was overly helpful, looked through the files, went into the basement, and the village clerk on the end there also overly helpful. Of course, neither of the individuals were around at the time, and were rather flabbergasted. There were no documents, no site plan, no revisions, no reviews, no planner reviews, no engineering reviews, no applications, no receipts. No documents, no site plan. The document illustrates, and anybody who's been here any length of time will remember the zoning fight, the 2 lawsuits over the easement across my property, and the fight over storm drainage. Then there were the lawsuits. And at one of the lawsuits, my attorney submitted documents that showed that Mr. Clementi was in fact not an engineer. And this information was, I believe, forwarded to council, which would have been Ms. Helmuth and Ms. Passari, back in April of 2015. September, this somehow gets approved by the Planning Commission. You were on Planning Commission, and Ms. Passari is in the audience. Somewhere somebody should have stood up and said, no, 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 stop. I need a copy of this document. But somehow, all the documents related to this property dating before January 2017 are gone. How? How do suddenly 4 or 5 years worth of documents. And like I said, if you remember, there were a lot of debates. The zoning board of appeals hearing, I believe, Mr. Bailey, were you there?
I remember the case.
There were 12 issues. 2 of them were really only related to engineering. And they got rejected despite the fact there was an engineer from you just mentioned the firm.
No, Frost.
Yeah, he's a professional engineer. He didn't even check the state licensing. Nope, it's fine. This project went through 2 years of professional review, the planner, the building inspectors, and not one level here at the village bothered to go to the state website, put in Clementi's name, and find out this guy has no qualifications. Now, I know you relied on the professionals of the village. They dropped the ball at every step. I need a copy of the site plan. Now, the clerk suggested what the next step is, a FOIA. I'll be happy to do it. But I know what's going to happen. It's going to come back blank. And I also have another problem. 2 village council members knew this gentleman had committed a felony with stamping drawings. Got another problem. There's other buildings in the village. 23 North Washington, which is Sullivan's, and Becker Eye Care. Now I know the attorney can say, well, they get to pick who they want to design their buildings. You know, not when a village contractor is referring this fake engineer to people, business people. The village contractors and employees should be watching out for the local residents and business owners. Because of that, we got a couple of buildings here that were designed by a guy not qualified. He has no qualifications to be an architect, an engineer, a surveyor, or doing any work. And now there's a couple of buildings. I got stuck with him just because he is next door to 57 North Washington. The title's screwed up on my property, thanks to you guys. I need that drawing. I need to see whose name is on it, and now I understand there's a third architect involved that stamped it. This has been going on 5 years. Do you think I'm going to drop this now? Nope, we're starting all over. I'm going to pursue this, and anybody that's been involved and got their name on that drawing or was at a meeting, I'm going to submit the FOIA. I'll wait till after the elections. It sounds like you're really busy. Would that work?
Whenever you...
No, I'm asking. I said I had a relative worked in the clerk's office. After elections, how long do you need?
You can turn it in at any time. I don't run elections as a village clerk, so...
Oh, lucky you. Great. All right. I'll turn in the FOIA. Now, I'll waive my rights if anybody wants to ask me any questions right now. If not, I understand. All right, thank you. Good night.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, do you want to answer?
Yeah. Chief Solak for PD. I just wanted to answer your questions referring to Pleasant Street. Just recently I got with DPW and Don has put up no parking signs across the street right by the duplex. Since she's not using that parking out in front of her house, I'm going to talk with her then and then we'll make arrangements for the no parking sign there as well. So I know it's been some issues with people coming off of Burdick Street onto Pleasant. They're coming on, people are coming off, so I know that's been an issue. So I'm also personally going to stop by there while they're doing construction and just to say, hey, this is what's going on. Please park your vehicles beyond the pole so people can come down off the street. But then after that, we put the parking signs up. So.
Yeah, and when the bus turns in the morning too, you can't get.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So we'll take care of the other side too, but I'll stop by and I'll talk with her as well.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Mike, did you have anything to report? Terry?
I think I reported everything that I needed to report tonight, but thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for your work. Joe?
Just a few items. I met with Oxford Bank yesterday. We're trying to set up a new process with online water bill payments. We've had bill pay that's been around for a long time. It has some hefty fees go along with it that the person's paying the bill has to absorb. We're looking to do a different setup there, make it an ACH where you can go online now and pay your bill somewhere. You plug in your bank account, your routing number, and you come out of your bank account. That's what we're trying to set up. It won't be any cost of us or the water customer then. And I have received a few calls that say I'm online paying all my bills, and I can't believe I have to do a check and write out to you guys for my water bill. We do inform them of the bill pay, but then again, when they get on there, it's a vast site, and you can get it all over the place. You can get in the wrong spot if you don't have your right digit code. So working with Oxford Bank, hopefully get that set up here in the next 60 days. Once it's set up and working well with them, then we can make sure everyone is aware of it on the site. And I would be surprised if not in a year's time, half of our water bill payments will be done that way. I think people are dying to get it done, and it'll take some way off our end.
Would that only be for people with accounts in Oxford Bank?
No.
Okay.
No, I just want to work with them first.
Okay.
Because they do the old manual stuff, how they do it over there with us. They only probably have, I don't know, 15 or 20 that they do the automated payments, something like that. So we're going to set it up, and then once we're set up, we'll be able to take it anywhere. So we're going to start with that. Like I mentioned earlier, we met with Rob, went over the Burdick Street paving and stuff. It wasn't the greatest weather, so Don and the other engineer guy they're going to meet perhaps one day this week or next to walk Burdick Street to look at the catch basins and stuff. I've contacted the county because a lot of catch basins down the bottom are part of the county drain, the drainer drain. So we have to inform them they have to be involved in that process, if they have to make any adjustments to their catch basins along the edge of the road because it's their county drain. The borings were done. You may have noticed the holes, the bright green, the borings were marked, now they're done. Same thing with Burdick Street. We did come in at the $1,810 range, not the $2,252 that we put up top side, so they did get them at the depth and everything at the cost we had hoped. And Drew, speaking of Drew, I had budgeted the $37,440 for his wages. He's about a quarter in, so we use about a quarter of that, about $720 a week. I don't plan on never replacing him, but there's a little bit of savings as the weeks go by of $720 a week that will affect the budget positively in that sense. All I perhaps want to do, and I've reached out to the trainer to see if we can get another clone like Drew, that same kind of MPA program to Open University or something that maybe someone's looking to do an internship type thing. Staffing wise, we're 3 of us there 4 days a week, and Kim's there 2 days. So on Monday and Tuesday, it's Terry, myself, and Vicki. I may look to get someone in just part-time, a lot lower wages than what we paid Drew, so we have 4 people in the office on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, just the 3 of us on those 2 days. There'll still be some savings based on what we were paying Drew and what this person would do. I haven't reached out or anything in regards to that yet, but we can't go too long, just 3 of us in the office like that. If I have to go to a meeting at the bank or something like that, or someone's trying to go to lunch, which we rarely do, it just becomes tough. Today the phones are ringing 3 or 4 minutes at a time, and all 3 of us are on the phone at one time. So I'll work on that. 51 South, the building over there is a new restaurant going in where the old sushi place was. We had some issues. I put a stop work order on a couple weeks ago. They were doing work without permits. We finally got around. Jack Curtis pointed me in the direction of our leadership council or leadership meeting to the new tenant. Because even the building owners didn't have access to the building anymore to let us in and do our site visit. We did meet this morning. Pete was there. I was there. I almost forgot. Pete called me. I thought it was Thursday. Building official was there. The lot was found to be done without permits, and they're in. He actually went today and be in tomorrow to finish and get the permits paid for. The building owner's rep was there as well. They're very much online, getting this taken care of. It's, we're talking with fryers perhaps, and alarm systems and ducts, and there's a lot going on there that needs to be corrected. The CDBG meeting, we talked a little bit earlier that when the contract is next week at Oakland County, either Terry or myself will be going there to mandatory meeting for the next contract year. So again, one more day that one of us will be out of the office for about 2 or 3 hours. I think it's Tuesday. So it's one of those days when we're already short-staffed. M24 project, we were at the TSC a couple weeks ago. Sue and Glenn from DDA, myself, and not everybody was, the whole project was there, mostly from, nobody from the village was there, village of Lake Wayne, because they're more concentrated on this end. talking about the detour route, stuff like that. Brian Harrison is the new manager for the project. He's new to MDOT. He had a road commission brief that he's carrying stuff in, so I think he's a relative transplant, relatively new. He's going to delve right into this. He called me today. I set him up with contact at the schools. He wants to set up a public meeting at perhaps the high school sometime in early November. So that's the first contact he's reaching out today to somebody at the school. Tim Sarkin, I think he reached out to, or Tony Sarkin. So MDEQ, I'm working on the emergency response plan. That's something that's done every few years. It's needs to be updated, names, contacts, all those things change out. And they have something new now. It's called vulnerability assessment. So once the emergency response plan is done, we have to do an assessment of our buildings and grounds and our processes and all that stuff. We may be putting bollards in and by some of the doors and things like that. Process, going through it, but trying to stay on that as well. And as we touched on a little bit earlier, one of the things back I remember from last audit even about the many signers on the checking account, the many accounts, multiple accounts, some of those things we've addressed. We've got our signers pared down. The one bank account is a Huntington Bank that we have for the taxes come from the county. We're probably looking to eliminate that completely. That's the only reason we have it. And the township has eliminated it. They said there's other ways people take that money to us. So there's another account we can just get rid of. But we're hoping to have a couple of accounts and a couple of funds closed up by the end of the year to kind of pare down some of those excess things. So, and some of those, as you recall, were some of the auditor's recommendations and stuff. So that's it.
Joe, did you check to see whether we have, when we talked about the alternate lighting,
I'm sorry.
did you check to see if we've got boxes on both sides of M24 so that we can do?
Oh, I have not checked yet. I haven't asked about that. Don may be able to fill me in on that. I'll have to ask him about that.
Okay.
I know like one of your concerns that they said they work.
Well, we were talking in the meeting that we need, I mean, once they start tearing up M24, we need lighting downtown. And so they thought that they could still maintain lighting on one side of the street, tear out the other side, put the new lights in, and then they would be functioning, and then tear out the other side. But we need to make sure that we've got boxes on both
And they
sides.
said even if they're all powered into the same circuit that has to be cut, they can probably extend some temporary
Right.
power to those to maintain the lighting on one side at all times.
We did find out that they're going to start with drainer first, because that's
Yeah.
going to be a huge undertaking to get that done.
The intersection.
And I'm trying to think what other things they were talking
The route
Gosh.
was kind of
The
a big part of
route.
it.
They haven't finalized the route, so I don't want to say that this is the final plan, but they are planning right now to maintain 2 southbound lanes on M24. They'll switch from side to side. And then the northbound route will go East Drainer to Oxford Lakes Drive to Industrial Drive to Pulaski to Ray Road. They were surprised that we already had talked with the schools, and the schools were on board, the road commission, county road commission, because they kind of said that was going to be a big deal to cooperate with the schools, and he didn't think that they'd get them on board. And I just turned toward him, I said, they're on board with everything that we've discussed so far. So, really? Yeah. So, that, gosh, I wish I had brought my notes. What else did they discuss, Joe?
That was a lot of signing, talking a little about signing, how we try to redirect some of the trucks as far as, over to 53 in regional redirections to try to
Right, there was
minimize,
signs over there,
let people
up on
know
69, down on 75,
regional redirect.
right?
Temporary signals perhaps that Ray and Pulaski or Ray and Oxford. Road.
We talked a little bit about temporary signals. Most likely one will be at Ray Road in Oxford.
When is this gonna start?
I'm sorry, what?
When is this gonna start? This November or next
March
November?
2020.
2020. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's probably gonna go till November of 20. So, start picking out your alternate routes right now. want to get some more action now that we have a project manager. Bob, did you have anything?
Good.
You're good? Okay, council comments? Dave, let's start with you.
Nothing for me.
Joe?
Just keep up the good work in the office, and liking what I see in terms of professionalizing everything, so thank you for all the hard work that you've done. Thank you for our residents who spoke up in public comment this evening. It's good to hear from our residents. It's good to hear what's going on and what the needs are. Thank you.
Eric?
The next couple months, due to an election and such, we're going to have some council turnover, leadership turnover, and I had the opportunity last week to go through some previous minutes, and it appears that over 85% of all action motions have been made by 2 individuals. So due to forthcoming change and turnover and things of that nature, we'd be encouraged to have council members, I guess, become more comfortable with making action motions and participate. Other than that, everything that I heard tonight is exceptional. I appreciate forthright and frankness. Keep up the good work. I support both of you, and we'll always vote to fund what we need to fund to do it right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Molly?
I don't know.
I just want to report Scarecrow was a success, even though they didn't eat most of the day. But there were a lot of kids out. I think Glenn gave an estimate of about 300 kids that were out trick-or-treating. I think the park was left kind of in a mess because I saw several muddy areas, but the kids had a great time. Victorious, first time that this has ever happened, Victorious took both the judge's choice and people's choice. It was pretty surprising, so that was good. And the fire department won for their Scarecrow. If nobody's seen it, you gotta go see it. I'm sorry.
It's a classic.
It is very good. And then Remax won, and who won the third one? Oh, Oxford Bay won. Scarecrows. And I think that's all I've got. And now we're going to go into closed session.
Correct.
Are we really doing that?
Yeah.
It'll be short.
Make a motion to go into closed session under MCL 15.268E at 7:54 p.m.
Support.
Okay, motion by Ellen, supported by Frost. Do you want to do a roll call, Terry, please?
Sure. Basardi?
Yes.
Dolan?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Helmut?
Yes.
Frost?
Yes.
The people in closed session will be those here at the table.